here with Kimba. Hi. You want to say hi to them? No? She's very intrigued by the camera stand. She was off doing her own thing and then she just ran up to check it out. But I thought today we would talk a little bit about grief because, oh, she's such a therapy dog. Many of you know that I recently lost my mother. Not like lost her in the woods, but she shifted to the next realm, as I like to say. She passed away. And this surprise, you're gonna hang out here for the talk. She had been sick for a long time and had been quite stressful. And so I really thought that I was prepared. Like, I work in Thank you. I hope whoever watches this video likes dogs, because I'm not gonna tell her to go away. So I had can do this though. Oh, I can't move it. Never mind. This is how we are. So she'd been sick for a while, and I really thought that I was prepared for her to die because she'd been suffering a lot. She had COPD, and so she died of complications from that. And it's a really awful way to go. So, side note, if you smoke or know someone who smokes, highly recommend quitting. So it was really hard to watch her be so ill. And with that, I really thought I would be prepared and, you know, okay, because it was somewhat expected. But then even so, once she died, it really caught me off guard. Even though I'd been expecting it for a while, I was still like shocked and surprised and somehow like overwhelmed with all of the grief and despair and just intense shock of of the pain of the grief from her dying. It was really, really hard. And so I started learning a lot more about grief and why, especially when I was prepared, it would hit me so hard. So this video really is, if you are struggling with grief or you're about to be, as I was with my mother, some of the things that I really didn't realize until after it happened. So yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit about grief. And you know, we have the 5 normal stages that you go through in whatever order you need to, and you can Google about those, the stages of grief. It's anger, depression, acceptance is often the last one, although I think it comes and goes and you'll go in and out through all of them. So anger, depression, acceptance. What is the one where you're not believing it? I forget the name of it. Anyway, there's 2 other ones. I went through them all, and the ones that aren't really talked about, that are not really stages, but the aspects that I don't think are really talked about. And if you work with me for energy work or we do appointments together, you know, thank you, honey. Can you down? No? You know that we talk about timelines and changing your timeline often with the beliefs in the trajectory of your life. But what really hits hard with grief, and not a lot of people talk about, whether it's from a death of a person or the ending of a relationship or the ending of a job, or even, you know, you feel attached to your things and you have to get rid of clutter, like that can be a form of grief, and we don't really recognize it as a society of something to grieve over, but it's still a loss and it can still be really hard. So no matter what your grief is, recognizing that you're now, the life path you were on, the timeline or the trajectory or whatever you want to call it, has dramatically shifted. So the future you wanted to have or you expected to have is gone. And so when somebody goes through grief or somebody has a death in the family or, you know, friendship that dies, the people around them see that death, but then they don't see all the invisible aspects, such as your future that you just lost. So that's something to grieve. The future that you wanted to have and you now never will. We might need to pause this because I think somebody's coming, and she's protective of me. Somebody was coming. She had to bark at them a little bit, and then she's still here, but she is, I don't know if you can see, she's lounging now by my legs. But so we're talking about the invisible losses and how it's not just losing the person, but it's losing the future that you wanted to have. And so this is such a big grief that isn't really talked about. And I think that's a big part of the acceptance. And it's when you Google about, you know, the stage of grief and acceptance and like how do you get to a place of acceptance, it's really about well, it's not really about to me, but what you find is it's about accepting they are gone, accepting, you know, they're not going to be there. But then there's all these other aspects of your life that just have shifted the outplay. And even with a parent, it's not like losing a partner. That would be such a huge future shift. But for the parent, like, there was still a future I wanted to have, and where I would have been able to help her more or do more things, and, you know, all these little things. And then, another aspect that's an invisible loss too, perhaps, especially with a parent, if you don't have a good relationship with them, but you still find yourself upset over it, and then wondering why you're even so upset if you didn't have a good relationship. It's good to acknowledge that when they die, you then lost the future that might have been a repaired relationship. So that was kind of hard for me too. My mom and I weren't exactly on the best of terms, but I tried. And so aside from losing the tangible future that I saw and wanted to help her more, I also really lost the future where we got to a really good relationship. So that's hard to deal with as well. With any kind of loss, you're losing all these possible relationships in the future. So that's something to acknowledge and to spend time really thinking about and grieving about. And when I say thinking about and grieving about, I mean, like, really take time to let yourself feel into the emotions. So all of my work is really about our stuck emotions in our body, getting them up and out so that they don't quite literally depress us. And if you look at Ayurvedic medicine, we're not going to tangent too far, but in Ayurvedic medicine or in Ayurvedic health, there's different body types. And mine is, I think, called Kapha or something. I don't know. So this is why we're not going to a tangent. I don't know too much about it, but I know there's certain people who are more prone to depression, which is me, and some people are more prone to anxiety. And then there's a third type. I'll have to write into the comments. I don't remember it off the bat, but some people are more prone to different things. So if you don't get those emotions out, like grief, which can be intensely overwhelming and quite debilitating for a while, it will get stuck in your tissue somewhere to manifest later on as, it could be an illness yourself, a disease, or just, you know, you'll find yourself getting more agitated or unhappy or anxious no matter what's going on. You know, like maybe your water filter doesn't fill correctly and you find yourself really anxious. And then you wonder, well, am I going crazy? It's just a water filter, who cares? But you do, because you have all this stuck stuff in. So when you do experience a grief, I would say the first thing is to make sure you allow yourself to feel into the depth of the emotion as much as your life allows. And by as much as your life allows, I know if you have small children, or I can't really think of anything else going on unless you have another ill family member or friend, but to take the time to grieve as much as you can, like lounge in bed, cry if you need to cry. If you find you can't get the emotion out, oftentimes it's good to exercise, moving the body. This is why yoga is so great for emotional balance, but running can be a really great thing too if your joints are up for it, just to get that energy in motion and get it up and out. And anytime you feel the urge to cry or vent or do anything, I highly, highly, highly recommend it the first few weeks or months or however long you need. Once it starts getting to a point where you feel like you want to be moving on and be feeling better, then it's good to start doing other activities. But in the beginning, I would say give into any and all the emotions of grief and sadness. That way it doesn't get stuck, because it is a normal part of the human process. We feel these emotions. It's not by accident, and it's not by some evil plan that we have to feel grief. You know, in the moment, it made me kind of question everything that I even do for work, and think, what is the point of the universe if we're just here to feel this intense pain? But in reality, it's a lesson to grow, right? Everything is. So when we feel this deep, deep grief, it forces us to get out all of these stuck emotions. Not just the new ones from grief, but like it brings this wave of everything else with it. All the invisible losses, all the future things. You're like purging all of this energy out of your system, which is a good thing. And so then we start over a fresh life, and not necessarily a better one or like, oh, a new vibrant one, but just it's different and likely more evolved in some way for your own, I don't want to say mental health, but like your perspective on what's important and what really, really matters like spending time with the people that you love, letting your dog lay by you and interrupt your YouTube movies for kisses. Did you notice my YouTubes are no longer edited? I just don't care, and I don't like the editing, and that's what was keeping me from posting them, so now they're not edited. Speaking of, here's the baby. But anyway, so if you're going through loss, let's wrap up real quick, and I just want to let you know you're not alone. It is hard. It feels so lonely because every grief, I believe, is very different. Every relationship is so different, so every grief has to be so different, and it can feel so lonely that nobody else will understand what you're going through, and it's hard. So if you need help processing and shifting through it, reach out to me. Emotions are my specialty, for sure, and I've recently gone through the grief, and I look at her eyeball, and I get that it's hard and that it hurts, so let yourself feel the hurt. If it gets too much, reach out. If it's going on for too long, reach out, but just feel into whatever denial. That was one of the other stages. If you're in denial, it's understandable. Baby, could you not put your face right there? So feel into your feels as intensely as you can. Find some movement that feels good to help you move it out, whether it's simple yoga, maybe a yin stretch, maybe crying on the floor in a twist or just in a ball. That's fine. And when you can, maybe going for a walk or a jog. I didn't really run because I can't run, but I did a slow jog, and it pushed some emotions up and out and made me cry intensely, which was good. It's productive to move that out. Now I feel a lot better. And the next video, maybe we'll talk about keeping that connection, and one of the reasons that I do feel so okay, and what really happens in the afterlife. Not that I know, but of course my theories and my experiences with it, and being able to connect to the other side and knowing that, you know, they're not really gone. It's just a different relationship. So we are ending the relationship we had here in the tangible physical world and starting a new relationship with them elsewhere. So I hope this video was a little bit helpful. Feel into your feels. Know that even though it feels so lonely, you're not alone. If you need help, reach out for sure. Okay, with love from me and my baby Kimba. Can you give kisses to the camera? No? Okay.